his writings about what lies in those unconscious parts, Freud introduced the word shadow as a metaphor for some dark psychological experiences. But it was really Freud's student, Carl Jung, who put shadow on the psychological map. Jung popularized the phrase shadow self and dedicated a significant amount of his research and practice to developing modes of bringing the shadow to light so that his patients could better heal. Freud's writing on the subject cast shadow as a shorthand for negative elements and experiences. His take on shadow concerned the unlikable parts of us that we repress and hide away in our unconscious, and the dark fears we project onto others. Mainstream culture has absorbed this negativity around shadow, defining the hidden parts of ourselves as vice, weakness, darkness, things that need to be excised. But the hidden parts of us are so much more than shameful secrets. In his work, Jung applied more compassion and possibility to the role of shadow in our lives, positing that just because we've been told something about us is unsavory, that doesn't mean it has to be rejected or that it holds no value or beauty. Today, there is no one way to speak about or offer shadow work as a healing modality. Psychologists and shadow work practitioners' approach to shadow varies, depending on how they were trained and what their clients want to achieve. For example, as a tarot reader and shadow work practitioner, the work I do will be markedly different from a clinical psychologist's approach. When looking for a therapist or practitioner to work with, it's important to ask them if and how they conduct shadow work with their clients and consider whether or not their approach feels right for you before committing to work with them long term. Shadow isn't a concept exclusive to modern psychology. It's been a core tenet of many spiritual practices throughout history. The roots of the word occult translate approximately to what is hidden in shadow and date back to the Middle Ages. This tells us that mystics and magicians understood and sought out the power of what lies beneath the surface of our understanding for centuries before Freud and Jung came along. Occultic and spiritual traditions like tarot, folk magic, meditation, and manifestation practices have long acknowledged that the more willing we are to look into our depths and uncover what is hidden beneath our surface, to see the light and the darkness within ourselves, then the more peace we'll make with ourselves and our world, and the more power we'll have to make the changes we really want to see in our lives and our relationships. Regardless of whether you come to shadow from a more psychological or spiritual approach, you should know that your shadow can be both a psychic location and an entity. It's somewhere you put things, but it's also something you communicate with. It plays different roles, and as you wander deeper down the shadow path, its role will evolve and flex. Rather than fight its shifting nature, I invite you to appreciate and celebrate it, to wonder at how incredible, how generous it is that your shadow can morph into whatever you need it to be. In this audiobook, I've endeavored to offer multiple perspectives about shadow and provided exercises rooted in an array of approaches from Jungian and Freudian psychology to witchcraft, to meditation and mindfulness, to creativity coaching techniques, so that you can experiment with what feels right and true for you. My shadow journey. As a writer and artist, I've always been compelled by what lies underneath the surface that people present to others. When I'd studied theater as an undergraduate, my favorite part of putting together a production was the table work stage. Here, the actors and director take time before getting a play on its feet to interrogate the text, working to uncover what's going on beneath the surface. The subtext of each line, the hidden motivations of each character, the pulsing why that animates the action. I went on to study culture and philosophy as a master's student and eventually wrote a dissertation about how theatrical performance allows us to signify emotional and spiritual exchanges that otherwise remain obscured in the daily humdrum of human experience. Jung and Freud's theories of the unconscious played a significant role in my argument. And yet, despite my creative and academic fascination with how we bring what is unsaid and unknown to the surface, I remain terrified and avoidant of what